Welcome to HSDF the Podcast, a collection of policy discussions on government technology and homeland security brought to you by the Homeland Security and Defense Forum. In this third of a three-part series, Eric Hysen, DHS CIO and Chief Artificial Intelligence Officer, and Dimitri Kusnezov, Undersecretary for S&T at DHS, explore how AI is revolutionizing government security using the transformative power of generative AI. Featuring Eric Hysen, Chief Information Officer and Chief Artificial Intelligence Officer, Department of Homeland Security. Honorable Dimitri Kusnezov, Undersecretary for Science and Technology, Department of Homeland Security. Luke McCormick, former CIO, Departments of Homeland Security and Justice. This discussion took place at the HSDF Technology Innovation and Government Symposium on February 22, 2024.
All right, let's open it up to the audience questions. Got one right here. We'll take this one and then that one.
Hi, Kelsey Blankenship with CGI Federal. I just wanted to ask, what do you think is the number one problem in the DHS world that isn't yet being addressed by AI that you think AI can reasonably address in the near future for each of you?
Well, look, I think there is always a mismatch between the pace of technology on one side and the things you can do, and with transition to operations where real people own real risk. We have badged people, facing challenging problems every day, and it isn't a simple transition to say, use this. That's a model that doesn't work. And I think the transition into operations of some of these tools, depending on how forward-facing or how much risk is attached to them not doing exactly what you think they do, is one of the pacing items on how you bring that into practice. And so it's this sense of excitement. We could do all of these things, and we've got to do this. But the reality is we have to be sensitive to making sure it is done in a sound way that doesn't fail. And that's not as easy as you can think. And it's not measured in months. In things I've done in the past, it's been measured in years as you try and bring something in parallel to existing methods and ensure that it doesn't fail in ways in the field when you're really using it in ways that were unexpected. So I think one of the challenges that, the ideas are outpacing our ability to implement for real reason. Because we interact with so many people. And so finding the right ways to do that, but we have great partners across the components, a lot of leadership there that is interested in finding ways to do this. But you have to have a realistic sense of pace of how to do that appropriately.
I will add on to your very serious and well thought answer of a slightly lighter hearted one, which is a specific area I'm really excited about is our executive secretary processes across the department. Anyone who has worked in the department before, I see Bill cheering over there. Just the amount of time that we spend writing and reviewing responses and responses to letters, memos, and the like is a tailor-made problem for generative AI, and it's one that our new executive secretary, Deb Fleischhaker, and I are starting to work on with Rashay, who you heard from earlier. So that's one I think we'll see some pretty big dividends pretty quickly, I hope.
Excellent question, by the way. We had another one over here.
Yes, sir. Jason Cronin from Axiom Consultants. This is a little bit of a follow-on to Kelsey's, but with the final acknowledgement that the PRC is actually in our critical infrastructure. Is AI being applied to a problem that you all have probably known has existed for more than just a few months, but a couple of years? And is there any intent in the near future to have try to bring in commercial solutions to help this very critical problem, pun intended?
I think overall, when we talk about critical infrastructure, cybersecurity, I think we continue to find that what's most important are the basics. It's the critical infrastructure community is so broad. It spans incredibly sophisticated large enterprises to really small, under-resourced entities in smaller localities. And I think while the role that AI can play in enhancing our defenses is important, I think it's really starts with a lot of the work that that CISA and others have done on just covering the basics of making sure organizations are patching, enabling multi-factor authentication, having trained CISO or reliable outside help. So I do think there is a lot of potential to do more, but I think we are starting and have to start with some of those core security practices.
Yeah, and I would also add first, what Eric just said, and just say, the list of adversaries we have that have been looking at these things is not new. If you remove the word AI from everything you said, it would have been true 5 years ago as well. And the question is, to what extent is AI an enabler to do things in ways that are different than today in terms of attacks, in terms of more protection? It's on both sides, and both are being explored. There is a great team at CISA thinking through that, and so I think we're not in a bad place. Certainly, the talent pool we have is strong, and so I think awareness to the community, to those that own critical infrastructure, that are parts of those enterprises, is the important steps. Just echoing what.
Okay, I got a question here. It's sort of two-pronged. One is, you got a lot of horsepower out here, as we described. What is the number one thing that these folks can do to help you move your agenda forward? Two is, what is the absolute number one thing that you look in the mirror in the morning and say, I must get this done in 2024? Start with Eric.
Look, I think I hit the key points on responsible use. I think it is a critical moment for our continued ability to lead in our own use of AI, and the more our partnerships with industry enable us to be interoperable, to be transparent, to be accountable to the public, to Congress, to those that we serve, the more we will be able to continue to build on our uses of this technology for years to come. Acknowledging that in particularly the generative space, we're in an early moment. And so we need our work with all of you to acknowledge the nascent stage of some of this. We're not going to be signing giant multi-year contracts on some of this. We're piloting. We're learning together. And so let's learn together. And so understanding that in our relationships together. In terms of just one thing this year, I mean, the biggest one for me is really cementing our role and leadership in the AI space, ensuring that this is an area where we are drawing connections between our internal use of AI and our external focus. But I'll quickly just note, I think one other big area outside of AI that I really feel a lot of excitement and responsibility on for this year is our customer experience work. We started this out in 2021. We now have a permanent CX office led by the incredible Dana Chisnell. And I'm really looking at this year as the make or break year for making CX a permanent thing that DHS does, that is not tied to any one executive order, any one item in the president's management agenda, but is a core part of our management of the department. And I think we're well on track with the work that Dana.
Such an important focus area, Dimitri.
For me, it's one word. It's preparedness. How do we instill an ability to be prepared for the unexpected? Because I do think we're living in a time today for which we have no context in terms of the speed of change, the extent, the ubiquity of things, how it's penetrating all of our lives and everything around us, and the world around us changing at the same time, whether it's extreme weather or climate. There are factors around us that are different today than they were yesterday. How we think about being ready for tomorrow in the face of perhaps events and situations that have never happened before, whether they're threats to our infrastructure, threats to something, whether it's natural events. We have to be able to pivot. TSA has been piloting with Dave Pekoski on open standards, which is important. It is one way to think about these things, as Eric said, not being trapped by long contracts or proprietary things. I think that's an important piece of it. Being able to partner with companies in richer ways, because I think a lot of the needs that DHS has are boutique. They don't align with a single product, and often we are not reflective of the market cap that a company might be looking for in terms of a technology. And we have to be, but we still have to draw that capability into the mission, because I think everyone in this room would want that. And so finding ways to partner with companies in more strategic ways to draw in ideas that are perhaps more nascent, that may align with companies' 5-year plans, but may, through clever means, be diverted in a sense that is useful to the company, but useful for us. And finding ways to meld ideas together. I think we have to be more creative in how we attack problems and step away from just companies waiting for the RFI or whatever to respond to, and, okay, I can deliver X, because X isn't going to solve any of our problems. I don't think there's any silver bullet technology that is out there that will solve any problem that is on the radar today that you think about when you think of us. So we need to find a more responsive fabric of performers, of partners, of means to do it, so we can be more prepared and more responsive. And so preparedness is what I worry about. How do we get to a place where we can pivot if we have to? Something happens tomorrow, we're not trapped.
Who dare has the last question? Ashley Lewis.
I usually don't need a mic, but I'll use it anyway. This has to do with preparedness, and it also touches on your customer experience role. I recently saw where DHS is coming out and doing some market research on the on the CX opportunities that are out there. And I think there's a DHS wide vehicle anticipated around the CX responsibility you have to help you all address evolving AI requirements and data analytics. Are you thinking about a similar approach for the department, an enterprise-wide vehicle where you could test or otherwise put in place iterative AI and data solutions, or are you going to handle it project by project?
I don't think it's going to be project by project. What I'm seeing, at least, is that where CX involves some unique skill sets that are not always a part of our existing contract teams. In many cases, I think what we need for AI development is very much a part of the way we're acquiring software development services overall, and then when we think about access to models or specific services, the way in which the industry is shaking out with cloud provider partnerships, we found that we have access through our existing cloud vehicles to pretty much everything we're looking at least to start. So far, I haven't seen as much of a demand signal there. That's not to say we won't take a similar approach, but I've been impressed at our ability to get both the expertise and model and service access through our existing software contracting approach.
Eric, Dimitri, 2 AI heroes. We can't thank you enough for everything that you're doing. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you for tuning in. You can follow HSDF the podcast on any major podcast platform. Visit hsdf.org to learn more about the Homeland Security and Defense Forum.